In this video, I want to quickly show you how to create your own grid system for your website. I know a lot of people like using Bootstrap's grid system, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you're simply looking for a grid system and don't want to worry about creating your own, make sure to check that out. However, if you want to reduce some CSS bloat or want some flexibility, it might be a good idea to just create your own. It's really not that hard, as we'll just create our own in just a couple minutes. I do want to point out that most of the features we'll be using are newer features. If you require Internet Explorer or other older browsers, this may not work for you. I've added links to caniuse.com in the description below so you can see if the browser support meets your requirements. Moving on, let's first create an outside div with a grid class with 6 elements under it. In CSS, let's create a grid class, and for now, we'll just make it a 12-column grid similar to Bootstrap. We'll give each item in the grid a 3-column span, and we'll give it a height and color so we can see what we're working with. To make this grid system more flexible, let's allow for cells that can have a span other than 3. To do that, I'm going to use CSS variables. I'll make the default width 3, but watch how we can easily override that in the HTML. Now, what about responsive design? With other grid systems, the number of columns usually stays the same, and the individual items shrink down. We can certainly do that, but I want to show you an alternate way. What about reducing the number of total columns in the grid itself? Let's update the 12 here to be a CSS variable. Then, all we have to do is update the number of columns available to us when our screen size gets smaller. We've got a problem though. What if the cell spans more columns than we have? The browser doesn't know what to do and makes additional tiny columns to fit everything in. We need to set a max column span. We can do that by using the CSS min function. That's about all there is to it. We now have our columns taking up the maximum available columns without going over. We can adjust any of these variables anytime or make new additional classes that change them. Since we're using CSS Grid, we can also add in rows if we want. I hope this has been helpful for you. Feel free to reach out in the comments if you have any questions or comments.